What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Saturdays in the SEC, episode 158. Back for a full Week 7 recap in the SEC and college football. Had a big week around the country. Going to have a full Week 8 preview here at the end of the episode, but going to go ahead and jump right into Week 7. Obviously, a lot of different directions we could go. Had a lot of great games this weekend around the league, but we're going to start with the Red River Shootout between Oklahoma and Texas. Obviously, one of the remaining undefeated SEC teams goes down in Oklahoma. Texas getting a win 23-6. Really, just to start off, I want to get your thoughts on this game. And obviously, Texas bouncing back, getting a huge win with their season on the line. And what'd you see between these two teams?
About what I expected defensively. I predicted a defensive game, took the under hit, go ahead and cash that, take it to the bank. Got a winner chicken dinner there. But other than that, I thought that Mateer looked like he hadn't played in a few weeks, which is what you expect, I guess. But I thought it was a little more glaring than what I expected it to be. New Texas's defense was good, but I thought that they gave Mateer a lot more problems than I expected them to. I was off on this game. I did pick Oklahoma to win, so I missed that there. Texas offense looked much better. They were able to move the ball down the field. I thought they ran the ball really well. Wisner had a great game. They incorporated him in both the running game and the passing game, but he was a big part of their success on Saturday. Excuse me. So I think obviously I think Texas's offense found their next step. I think that they're building in the right direction. They're going to be one of the better teams at the end of the year, which is where you want to peak. You want to peak in November and December. So I think Texas is on their way to be playing their best football. But Oklahoma, man, their defense, they did everything they could to give them chances. But Mateer turning the ball over 3 times. Oklahoma hasn't been able to run the football really well all year. They didn't run the football well on Saturday, and we talked about, especially after the Michigan game, kind of going into the Auburn game. Mateer had thrown some interceptions at that point, but he also had not thrown some interceptions, but put the ball in harm's way several times leading up. And I felt like he did that Saturday again. There was a couple of plays that weren't interceptions, but very well could have been. I thought there was a little bit of panic at times, or like he tried to force things. The one right before half, they're set up in field goal range. He tries to heave it downfield into the end zone on 3rd and 2. Throws an interception. Wipes 3 points off the board essentially for them. So I just thought that he looked a little rusty for sure, but more than I expected him to. Definitely defensive ball game. Special teams showed out for Texas with a punt return touchdown that pretty much sealed the deal. But I think Oklahoma had 5 sacks on Mateer, and even then, when they weren't sacking him, they had plenty of pressures. He was scrambling, I felt like, all day, trying to extend plays, and they were all over him all game. I thought the defensive game plan was phenomenal by Sarkisian and his staff, and then the offense, like I said, they definitely took that next step forward. Arch Manning's still not Heisman caliber or anything, but he's definitely not affected by the noise. I respect that about him. I thought he stepped up and played just about as well as you could ask him to on Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was definitely a step in the right direction for Texas offense. I mean, obviously it wasn't explosive, and nobody expected that from either side in this game with the quality of defenses that you have. But yeah, definitely felt like Texas took a step in the right direction. I thought he took his checkdowns when they were there, not putting the ball in harm's way. Thought the receivers made some plays as well, which had been a little bit of a problem early on, not getting separation. But like you said, Wisner had a big game, was effective running the ball, and was kind of a little bit of a pitch count too. Kind of coming off of an injury, and he was good in the pass game as well. So just an all around really nice day for him. And like I said, thought they did enough, especially the way their defense was playing. And I think going into it, people were wondering, how's this Texas offense going to move the ball? But really, I mean, the same thing you could say for Oklahoma's offense. Hadn't ran the ball well with the running backs at all this year, and with a diminished John Mateer, just Oklahoma just felt very one dimensional from the get go, really, and didn't get much of anything going. So I definitely think that bothered him certainly and played a factor. But even if he was fully healthy, I don't know I don't think they would have won this game anyway. So I just thought you were getting a desperate Texas team. It's such a talented team. You just can't write them off in October. That's a really good staff over there, and you just figured they would kind of figure something out. And I didn't think it would be. I didn't think the score would be that lopsided. I thought it would be more of a one possession game, but definitely the under hit, which was big and what a lot of people thought. But yeah, just a really bounce back win for Texas, man. And you look at Oklahoma going forward, like, man, they got a really, really tough second half of the schedule. And, I mean, it's a big game in Columbia this weekend, which we'll talk about later. But, yeah, they definitely kind of got to get it back on the tracks quick because, I mean, it's something that, if you're not careful, could linger and kind of go downhill for you. So we'll see how they respond. But yeah, huge win for Texas. Only one conference loss, so both these teams are still in the mix for everything for SEC title races and potential playoffs. So we'll see how it progresses the rest of the way.
Absolutely. Now, I thought that another thing before we move on, I thought seeing the resiliency that Texas showed this weekend, because early on it kind of looked like things were going in Oklahoma's favor. They were able to drive down, get a couple of field goals. Texas missed a field goal, so it kind of felt like that could have snowballed on Texas and kind of gotten out of control in the favor of Oklahoma. It felt like that early, but Texas was resilient, hung around, stayed in it, kept swinging, kept battling, and then eventually things started falling for them. I just thought that spoke a lot about this Texas program, where they've been, the outside noise. They very well could have folded in that moment, but they didn't. They fought back. I thought it was a phenomenal game, obviously on both sides, but definitely a resilient outing by Texas, especially after a disappointment the week prior. Moving on, though, Bama goes to Missouri. Missouri was one of the other undefeated conference teams left this weekend. Bama goes in. They're a 3.5-point favorite. A 3-point favorite, I think is what it closed out. That's what I ended up getting them at. I sung their praises, said they're going to win by double digits. And I'll be John Brown. They almost proved me right. And then Missouri's able to drive late and kind of put up a late touchdown to make it a little more interesting there in the end. But Bama closes it out. It's a push on the betting line. Bama wins by 3. I thought this game played out exactly how I expected to, but I'm intrigued to get your opinions on this, Cam.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about coming in last week, a really tough scheduling spot, for Alabama going on the road, facing a rested Missouri team coming off essentially 2 bye weeks, playing UMass before a bye. So, a very rested team, a team that was super prepared, that you would anticipate. I thought Alabama overcame a lot of adversity in this game. Jam Miller goes out with a concussion. Derek Meadows, who doesn't play a ton of snaps at receiver, but a couple guys got absolutely clocked in this game. Like I said, you're already facing the scheduling spot on the road, coming off 2 really emotional games and wins against Georgia and Vandy. So you kind of had the deck stacked against you a little bit from that standpoint, and I thought they really overcame adversity. The reason this game kind of worried me coming in, not because I, number one, have a ton of respect for Missouri, but I just thought if Alabama wasn't able to finish drives in the red zone, kind of like that Vandy game the week before, that this would have a chance to be really close in the end. And that's kind of how it played out a little bit. I thought Alabama left some money on the table at times during the game, not finishing drives, missed a field goal one time. But you got to give Missouri their pass rush a lot of credit because they were able to be disruptive and at times get to Ty Simpson, get a couple sacks, get a couple other pressures that was able to disrupt some things. But all in all, I thought Ty Simpson played extremely well for the most part. Thought the running backs had some tough runs, and he made some absolutely clutch throws at several different times in the game, none bigger than that 4th and 8 to Latsier Brooks. You get to a 3rd and 22, you're able to pick up some yardage to make it a reasonable 4th down, but I agree with the call, even though it was gutsy, but you were kind of in that no man's land. You're not really trusting Connor Talty from 50 plus that much, especially 55 or whatever it was, and you're really too close to punt, so you don't. It's late in the game, like you don't want to put your defense back out there if you don't have to. You want to be aggressive, like to lean on your offense a little bit, lean on your quarterback. It was cool to see them do that. Obviously, it paid off. They ended up punching in the end zone to go up 10 there. But give Missouri a lot of credit, too, for bouncing back quick and scoring and then getting another stop and getting the ball with it, at least a chance. But yeah, thought Alabama solid game. Missouri fought. I didn't think Bo Prabula played as well as I thought he would. He made several mistakes. Had some really good plays. It was kind of a mixed bag. Had a couple key interceptions too that Alabama was able to force a little bit. So all in all, really competitive game. What you expect from two top 15 teams, and thought Alabama controlled it for the most part, but give Missouri a lot of credit for disrupting and fighting back and making it really close there in the final couple minutes.
Yeah, I thought Alabama's defense did a good job of containing Hardy. That was a big question coming in. I mean, he got his at times. He had a big run. They broke a couple of runs, but for the most part, Alabama held their rushing game intact and kind of made them go to the air to beat them. And I thought the game plan from Alabama was phenomenal. That fourth down throw you're talking about by Ty Simpson, I know it's early. I know it's only week 7. I know most teams have only played 6 games, so it's not going to be talked about in this way. But that throw happens in week 9 or 10. People are talking that's the Heisman moment. I know it wasn't a touchdown pass. I know it wasn't any of that. But the moment that it was in the game, the perfect, beautiful throw has to be put there. It's an incomplete pass, drives over, or an interception. I mean, that is a Heisman moment type throw. That is a big caliber throw. Caught a lot of NFL scouts' eyes, I'm sure. But he's my dark horse right now for Heisman. I don't know how much of a dark horse it is. I haven't seen the Heisman board. I'm sure his name's on there. I think if he continues to play like he is, he will win the Heisman. I think if he continues to play like he is, Alabama will win the SEC championship and they will compete for the national championship. Ty Simpson's playing some of the best football in all the country right now. There's not a team in college football who wouldn't take him as their starting quarterback over their guy, and I truly believe that. Alabama's got the best quarterback in college football, and he proved it time and time again this season, but he definitely proved it time and time again on Saturday against Missouri. He's put the team on his back several times. You can tell why they ride for him and then why he's a leader, but I thought that he played another phenomenal game. Box score is not going to light it up, but the type of plays he was making in the moments he was in, those plays came. It doesn't get much bigger than that, and he rose to every occasion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's playing tremendous football right now, and like I said, had some adversity. Had some guys go down, and like I said, they were able to kind of keep grinding. If they can kind of figure some things out in the red zone a little bit, which is tough in the red zone. You're trying to throw the ball, it's in condensed spaces, so I think that's something they'll continually have to work on. They keep expanding the Caden Proctor package a little bit. They keep flashing a different formation, a different way of getting the football in his hands in the goal line. So it's the third straight game they've had some different variation of it. So I'm curious to see kind of how that goes forward. I mean, he's definitely a freak athlete. You shouldn't be able to move like that at 360 plus pounds. But yeah, I think they're gonna have to formation some teams up in the red zone, try to continue to run the football a little bit better. There's still a lot of movement on the offensive line. I think over the coming games you're going to see Michael Carroll probably take over that right tackle job. Will Conform plays okay at times. At other times has some breakdowns in pass protection. He had several rough moments on Saturday, and I think Michael Carroll is a true freshman and playing some really good football. Ryan Grubb said yesterday in the press conference that he's really, really close to being an every down guy. So I think as the weeks go on here, I think you're going to see him take over that right tackle spot sooner rather than later. He's already been getting a good bit of reps there, and I think ultimately that's going to be Alabama's best offensive line. Where they keep Gino Vandermark or Jaden Roberts, they got a couple options at right guard, but I think their best alignment ultimately down the line is probably going to be Michael Carroll at right tackle.
Looking forward to seeing if that comes to fruition. I'm sure it will. Everybody you've heard calling in the radio shows, on Twitter, on podcasts are talking about Will Conform being he's kind of the weakness of the offensive line. So I expect a change to be made there. Do you feel like he's the weakest link on the offensive line?
Yeah, I think you look at the left side of Alabama's offensive line. I think which there's no reason he shouldn't be, but I think he's finally living up fully to his potential. Caden Proctor at left tackle. I mean, you see not only him having the ball in his hands, but I think certainly this year he's been as good as he's ever been over there at left tackle, holding things down. And everybody had some breakdowns against Florida State, but I feel like he's been really, really strong since then. I think Parker Brazelford's probably the best center in college football, honestly. Even dating back to last year, I mean, he's tremendous at center. I think Cam Dewberry, the transfer from Texas A&M, has been really good at left guard as well. So definitely the right side has been more the weaker link. They've had Geno Vandermark at right guard a good bit. Jaden Roberts has been in there some as well, a veteran guard. And then they've been rotating Formby and Carroll a lot recently at right tackle, really for the last several weeks. So, like I said, I think ultimately whoever they decide at right guard, I think both are pretty similar. I think they might end up being Jaden Roberts if he can get healthy, but I definitely think moving forward it'll be Michael Carroll at right tackle, I would think.
All right. Well, we're going to stay in the state of Alabama. We're going to go down to Auburn, where the Georgia Bulldogs came in. Kirby Smart coaching for his job and comes out of the gate swinging. Offense looks great. Sticking with the run game, using a quarterback run, perimeter pass game, incorporating the receivers in the run game. I mean, looks really good. Marching up and down the field, able to stick it in the end zone, come away with points after drives. Defense playing out of their minds, especially early. At one point, Auburn's first drive was 14 or 15 plays, and up until the final 2 minutes of the first half, Georgia had only ran 12 plays. So Auburn's defense was playing great. Everybody knows about the controversial fumble, touchdown, whatever it was down there on the goal line. Regardless of what happened, that's when the game flipped and Georgia figured it out. Not surprised. I picked Georgia to win. Early on, it was looking like I was dead wrong. And then you let Georgia hang around. We've said this time and time again. You let Georgia hang around, they're going to find a way to win. You've got to put them away when you got the chance, and they didn't. And Georgia found a way to win. It was very ugly, but it was on the road in the SEC. Night game in Jordan-Hare, tough place to play, and Georgia got it done. Gunnar Stockton was about as stone cold as you could see in the second half. I thought Georgia ran the ball pretty well, which in the second half, not the first half, in the second half, which we were more accustomed to seeing them run the ball. They weren't able to get really much going in the first half, but in the second half, I felt like they ran it and leaned on it a little bit more. Again, Gunnar Stockton played really well, threw for 217. The defenses on both sides, we've said it time and time again, I feel like Kirby Smart's the best in-game adjustment coach in college football. You saw that. It's a tale of two halves. We've talked about that several times with Georgia and Tennessee, Georgia and Alabama, now Georgia and Auburn, a complete tale of two halves. I feel like if Auburn would have been able to punch it in right there and go up 17-0, it would have been a really tough comeback for Georgia. I don't know that it probably would have been done. But them getting that fumble and then coming away with three, Auburn's defense shot themselves in the foot several times on that last drive before half. Several flags, had a roughing the passer, had a targeting call, PI, just everything to do to keep their drives alive and march them down the field, let them go away with three. Georgia gets the ball after halftime, which didn't really matter when they got the ball because Auburn couldn't do anything in the second half. I thought, yes, officiating was very bad again. It sucks that Auburn was on the receiving end of it, but in no way is that the reason that Auburn lost this game, because the first one, taking the 7 points off the board with the fumble, no fumble, touchdown, whatever you want to call it, I could see it both ways. If they would have ruled it a touchdown, I could have seen it. If they ruled it a fumble, honestly, I could see it. Like, it was so in the middle. They had to stick with what they called on the field. I get it. It was tough. But even after that, Auburn's got a 7-point lead at home. I felt like, obviously, you saw it frustrate Hugh. I felt like he let it get to him a little too much and let it affect him and his coaching a little too much. The timeout, no timeout, stoppage of the third down would have been delay a game. That's really the one that I thought was just super egregious. Clearly, Kirby's running down, hollering timeout. He's saying they're clapping. I get all that, but clear as day, he's doing the timeout signal, universal signal for timeout. He's doing that. They give a timeout. The third down is about to be a delay of game, so Georgia's about to get backed up. They stop the play, so no delay of game penalty. charge them with a timeout. Kirby says, no, I was clapping. Referees end up giving Kirby his timeout back, and then they just give Georgia a fresh set of downs. Georgia converged pretty much ball game from that point on. It was 13-10 at the time. Egregious that these referees are having the effect and the outcomes on these games that they are. You're talking about money involved with not just the people outside of the game, but you got coaches, not just the head coach, but the whole staff. You got their livelihood on the line. I mean, you're talking about people's jobs, and then you're talking about the betting market, and you got all this stuff going on where referees are deciding ball games. It's atrocious, and it's not called the same each week. It's not called the same conference by conference. We've talked about it several times. Again, not the reason that Auburn lost to Georgia. Georgia manhandled Auburn in the second half. Auburn had 40 total yards of offense or something like that in the second half. This is the last thing I'll say before I let you go. And in no way what I'm about to say am I saying if they would have done this, Auburn would have won. I'm acting like I'm a smarter coach than Hugh Freeze. In no way am I saying this. This is just something that was going through my head as an Auburn fan watching this game. Okay? No offenses can really do anything. Kirby Smart, who's got the most cemented job in college football right now, he's going nowhere. He's coaching at Georgia as long as he wants to, no matter what his record says. If he is pulling out trick plays to beat you, and you got a coach on the other side of the field who is literally coaching for their job, you've got what could go wrong? And he's just going to run the same base offense that's not working in the second half when can get nothing going. That's what shocked me. Again, not saying that Auburn would have won. I just could not believe that he wasn't pulling out all the stops to get something going, to save his coaching, and to potentially save the season and get something righted in the right direction. That's what shocked me. If they would have tried it, at least I'd have been happy. Like, okay, at least he's trying something because he sees that the offense he's running in the second half is not working. Just try trick play. Georgia did, and it would have been successful had Dylan Bell not overthrown him. So that's just what baffled me. You got the best coach in college football pulling out all the stops to get a win, and you got a guy coaching for his life in his home stadium not doing that. That just baffled me as a fan watching it. Love to get your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I mean, we've all heard that statement before, a tale of two halves. Like, that was literally the epitome of this game. I mean, what Auburn did in the first half, Georgia turned around and completely flipped it their direction in the second half. I mean, it was crazy to watch. I mean, like you said, I agree with you. I thought the ball broke the plane. Talk about the fumble touchdown for half, which, like you said, I think would have put Auburn in really good position to win the game. Now, I mean, obviously not. We won't ever know. We don't know for sure. I mean, 17-0's not insurmountable by any means before half, but I mean, it definitely would have put Georgia in it.
It changes the way both offenses operate the rest of the game.
100%. I mean, it was. The second half was totally different because it was 10-3 at half and not potentially 17-0 or 17-3, even if Georgia drives it down, whatever. Like, you're at 2 touchdowns or better versus 1 touchdown. I mean, it's a huge difference in this game in a second half that didn't have many possessions in it. So, I mean, that's a big deal. So, I thought initially it broke the plane. After kind of looking at it, like, it was truly one of those, like, bang bang type of plays. Like I said, I think whatever the call on the field is what it had to be. You just really couldn't tell. And I thought it was interesting too. Georgia said they called a timeout, I believe, right before that, and they were on the sideline saying, "Hey, he's gonna have it there, punch it out," you know. So they kind of manifested that, and like I said, I think ultimately it was right because I think they had to stay with what the call was, but that's the talk of the game, but that was the least egregious thing that happened in this game as far as officiating goes. I mean, the timeout fiasco was horrible. I mean, how do you not charge them for a timeout there and then you just reset the game clock like that 25 seconds never happened? It was just crazy to me. Some other things, I definitely think they let things, the intensity of the game affect them. That goes for the officials, because I mean they just kept piling on some calls that I thought some of them were pretty cheap, to be honest with you. So it was just they made it a ref show. I mean, you're talking about 35 minutes of real time to play those final 2 minutes for half. It was egregious, and we know how bad the officiating has been for some time now. And I don't know if there's a fix to it anytime soon, but I do agree with what you said as well. Though I thought it did affect. I think Auburn let it affect them more than it should have, and I know they've had some tough calls go against them. They've had some rough second halves, so it was a team that hasn't handled that type of adversity very well recently, and that is fighting and scratching and just it's hard enough for them to get wins anyways, and then they feel like calls are going against them. So I mean I see how that happens, but I do agree with you. I think Hugh Freeze let it affect him a little too much, and I think ultimately that affected his team in the second half, being able to kind of regroup. And this second half offense has become a big theme the last couple of weeks. I mean, I think what do they have, like 100 yards of offense maybe in their last 3 second halves? I believe. It's really really bad. Like you said, I was surprised they didn't try a little bit more. Like you said, just try something to get it going in the second half. I mean, what did you have to lose at that point? You know what I mean? Like you said, I mean, you're coaching for your job, you're coaching for the season. Yeah, I just it was just a complete clinic by Georgia's coaching staff in the second half, the way they were able to flip things. And like I said, obviously the calls didn't help that, and it definitely would have. I don't know if the outcome would have been differently, but the second half would have played out totally differently. Had the officiating gone a little bit differently. But yeah, like you said, I mean the second halves have become. I mean the offense hasn't been good in general, but the second halves in particular have been really, really glaring. And yeah, it's definitely an indictment on him a little bit that you're not able to get anything going at all in the second half in games that you had great chances of winning, and now you've lost all 3 of them. It's tough.
Yes, it's very frustrating. It's again, like you said, it's becoming a theme, not only just this season, but and the tenure of Hugh Freeze up to this point. No, he's only been there 2.5 years, and I know the seat's getting hot. There's talks going around, and you got to feel bad for the guy, man. I mean, he is. For sure, he was left with a bleak roster when he got there. He's turned that around. He's done that. He's stocked it. He's got great talent up and down the roster. He just hasn't proven he can't finish ball games. I don't know this stat. I know that he's 2-11. While Hugh Freeze is 2-11 in his tenure at Auburn in games that are finished with 10 points or less. Games that are defined by 10 points or less. So that's bad in and of itself. I don't know this, but just from a fan thinking back off the top of my head, I would be willing to bet that so that's 14 games, 13 games. I would be willing to bet that in 10 of those games, Auburn had the lead by double digits or a touchdown in probably 10 of those games in the third or fourth quarter. So it's not that they're just getting blown out. They just can't find a way to win. He said it in his press conference, Hugh Freeze said they're finding ways to lose games. We've been saying that for years on this podcast. Instead of finding ways to win games, they're finding ways to lose games. It seems like the team expects to lose, and they're just like, what's going to happen now? How are we going to lose this one? Instead of let's go out there and flip the script. However, we'll find out this week against Missouri. We'll get into that soon. Moving on, let's go to Florida and Texas A&M. I'll be honest, I've been skeptical of Texas A&M. Since they played Auburn in the weeks before that. Their offense just didn't look great after Notre Dame game. Looked good in Notre Dame game, but after that, I've kind of been skeptical of them. They proved me wrong this weekend. I think this team is the real deal. They're my favorite to win the SEC right now. I think they're playing some of the best football. I don't see a team on their schedule that they can't beat the rest of the way. Doesn't mean that they're going to win out. Again, we don't think there's going to be an undefeated team in the SEC. But they got Arkansas this weekend, then LSU, Missouri, South Carolina, Samford, and Texas. They're probably going to be favored in every one of those games. Maybe not LSU because it's in Death Valley, but I think they're going to be favored in each one of those games that they play the rest of the year. They probably drop one of those. Maybe 2. Even still, I think this team's definitely in the college football playoffs. But the way they're playing right now And what they showed me this past weekend, I expect to see this team playing in Atlanta at the end of the year and making a run in the college football playoffs. This is a complete team. We've talked about them being able to win several different ways. They did that again this weekend. I thought that Marcel Reed has made strides. He did have an interception, but just the way that he commands that offense, they get better and better each week. They can win multiple ways. Their defense plays out of their minds. Got to the quarterback a lot this game, forced some turnovers, had a strip sack. Had two of them, I believe, recovered one. Just defense is really good, which you're not surprised with the Mike Elko team. But the way they controlled this game against Florida on Saturday night, that's what a championship team does to this caliber team. They exceeded my expectations this weekend for sure, and I think this Texas A&M team is the real deal and definitely the front runner for the SEC in my opinion. I was high on Ole Miss, still am, but I think this Texas A&M team is the best team in conference right now.
Yeah, they're really good, man. I mean, they're like you said, can win in a multitude of ways, which we talked about a lot over the last few weeks. I think the key going forward is continuing, Marcel Reed's development. Obviously, I think there's always probably going to be a few plays or a few throws that he misses, but man, he seems to just steadily, be playing better and better. And I just love the pieces they have around him on offense. Like, I just think that's the whole key to it. If he can continue to develop at the rate that he has over the next, month or two, I think this team's going to be playing for a lot longer the rest of the way. And they're really good. They're solid defensively as well. Got a lot of talent up front, which they were super disruptive in this game. I think the key for them is just that consistency. Like I said, there's probably going to be some games where, they give up in the 30s or high 20s or whatever. They gave up in the 40s at Notre Dame, but they're a complimentary team, though. Like, I think their offense will be able to make up for that at times when they need to. So, like I said, they're not playing like elite defensively all the time, but I think they have that capability. And like I said, I think their offense, and vice versa, like if their offense struggles, I think their defense can help pick them up. So it's a really complimentary team. They really impressed me in this game. Florida's obviously a team that doesn't need to get in at a battle of trying to trade touchdowns with people. That's just not their game at all. Like I said, A&M's front really disruptive. Was able to force a couple turnovers. They did a great job against the run. I mean, Florida had to outrush A&M to win this game or have a chance to win this game, and they got outrushed 183-74. Like that's not going to cut it.
Close. Yeah.
This just kind of felt like Florida's chance. Like they got the win against Texas last week, which is huge, and then you think, okay, maybe there's something there. Like maybe that's not just a one-off performance. Maybe they can kind of string some things together here and not even make a run like they did a year ago, but at least kind of show like, hey, they still got something in them. And I mean, they're not a horrible team or a bad team by any means, but they just weren't on the level of Texas A&M in this game or period this year. Like I said, just not enough from them offensively. Just A&M was able to overwhelm them from that standpoint, and I think this kind of closes the chapter on Florida making any kind of run this year. I mean, I think it was probably a slim chance to begin with, but I thought they could keep this a little bit more competitive. But the style of game just didn't really trend in their direction.
I agree wholeheartedly. All right, LSU, South Carolina. South Carolina goes into Death Valley. Again, this game played out a lot like I expected it to. Honestly, shouldn't have been as close as it was. Ended 20-10. Didn't cover. Sorry. I picked South Carolina, didn't cover. But it was 20-10. It very well should have been 34-10. LSU had 2 touchdowns on the board that they left off. Fumbled right in the goal line. Threw an interception at the goal line. Like, this game should have been a blowout. LSU just didn't seize those opportunities and turned the ball over. South Carolina, though, man, sounds like I'm talking about Auburn's offense right now. Couldn't get out of their own way. they would piece decent drives together, and then they have a false start. I felt like every penalty they threw was a false start against South Carolina this weekend. They killed drives with false starts, killed drives with intentional grounding. They just looked sloppy on offense. They would get something going. They ran the ball fairly well. Had big rush play after big rush play. But they just kept shooting themselves in the foot and would get behind the sticks and then couldn't convert and turn it over, have to punt, whatever the case may be. But they just got in their own way. LSU, on the other hand, I thought their defense played extremely well. I thought their offense, like I said, should have been much closer than 20 points. LSU dominated this football game easily. I thought that they ran the football really well. They had several big rush plays that we haven't seen LSU be able to do this year. So I think I was a little overhyped on South Carolina coming into the year. They're still a good football team. They're not as good as I expected them to be. LSU did what they were expected to do. They handled business, and they heard the cries of not being able to run the football, and they came out. They ran for 168 yards, and like I said, they had several plays of 15-plus rushing yards. I thought the offensive line did a really good job, and I thought LSU was able to command the game from the very first kickoff, and it was all she wrote.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like just felt like Lenore Sellers, man, was running for his life all night long. I was listening to Cole Kubelik earlier, and he said I forgot the stats or the tracking system that they have access to or whatever. They said Lenore Sellers ran, like, his total yardage in this game, 894 yards of him. Right, like, that's how much he had to run around. And I mean, I know there was multiple plays I was watching. I mean, it's amazing what he can get out of too. Like, because I mean, there's multiple times, like, there's hardly any other quarterback in the country that's getting out of some of the situations that he can get out of, because he's so tough to bring down. And I think he's even quicker than he looks probably on TV, honestly. I mean, I just see him run back to the right, then whip around, run all the way back to the left sideline. It's like, I mean, that's where those 894 yards came. I mean, just constantly, like, I don't know what his rushing number. I mean, obviously they weren't that great, I don't think. I mean, he's really good in the run game. But
he ran for 19 yards on 22 carries. So some of those are sacks, but still, 19 yards.
Yeah, I mean, dude, his total actually running, I mean, like I said, just constantly under duress, it felt like you said, piece some drives together, but could just never sustain, could never finish. LSU had a couple, like you said, key turnovers, leaving points out there, and definitely a step in the right direction for their running game as well. But this South Carolina team, I mean, they're a young team. We knew that coming in the year, but they're pretty banged up as well. So it's just a tough situation right now. And like I said, their offensive line has really, really struggled too, as evident by Lenore's running around all night. So 5 sacks. I mean, it was a tough night for South Carolina offense, but I mean their defense hung in and did a pretty decent job. Like I said, they were able to force a couple things, but like I said, just not enough when your offense isn't able to sustain or convert when they need to.
You want to talk about you mentioned Oklahoma's got a brutal schedule coming up. You know who else does? LSU. Their next 3 games, they go to Vanderbilt, they host Texas A&M, they have a bye week, and then they go to Alabama. That's their next 3 games. Vanderbilt, LSU, Alabama.
So does South Carolina's got a brutal schedule. I mean, Cocktober is just loaded.
It is rough. So we're going to find out a lot about both of these teams. I think we found out a little bit about LSU. They got a little grit to them. They're not done yet. They're not down and out. So I liked what I saw from LSU this past weekend. Again, they dominated the game completely. Shouldn't have been as close as it was. Moving on, the final SEC on SEC game this past weekend. Arkansas goes to Tennessee, and high-scoring affair. Both teams got in the 30s. This game, scoreboard doesn't really dictate how close it was. Arkansas kind of got some too late, kind of mop-up time, touchdowns, kind of made it a little closer there in the end. Tennessee kind of couldn't get a first down there in one of their last drives, gave the ball back to Arkansas. They were able to score again. But, I mean, just no defense. Defense optional in this game on Saturday. But I thought that Petrino is doing a really good job with what he's got down there. Offensively, they're really talented, but I'm talking about the defense. I think he's doing the best with what he's got. Got rid of a lot of the guys on the defensive coaching staff, so kind of hold it together with Scotch tape there. But the offense looks really good. I mean, we've been talking about how good their offense is all year. That's really not been the problem. This game, it seemed like whatever one team would do, the other matched them. Tennessee would score a touchdown, Arkansas would score a touchdown. Tennessee would kick a field goal, Arkansas would kick a field goal. Tennessee would punt, Arkansas would punt. It was or turnover on downs or whatever it was. But the thing that kind of got in Arkansas's way again, which is what we've said pretty much in every game they've lost this year, is fumbles. Man, I believe they had 2 fumbles this game, killed drives. I mean, they had a chance. I believe it was to either go tie or take the lead, and they fumbled it. It's just, I texted you on Saturday. I was like, a fumble to hurt Arkansas. Like, imagine that. I feel like every single time that Arkansas had something go against them this year or a momentum swing just because of a fumble from them. So just tough. When you got that type of season going, it seems like every single solitary thing that can go against you is going to go against you. Feels like Arkansas has been stuck in that the last few years, but just another not being able to take care of the football, and it kind of cost Arkansas another game this year. I think that would be the 3rd win they could have had if they can protect the football.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they lost the turnover battle 3-0. I mean, that was one of the biggest reasons for this result. Put 4 balls on the ground, 4 fumbles, lost 3. Like you said, I mean, that has killed them. Did some really good things offensively. I mean, got a couple good running backs. I mean, we know Taylor Green, especially in the scramble games, really good. Design runs are good too. Did some things. I mean, you said obviously not a good game for either defense, but I mean, if you'd have told me before the game, like, hey, Arkansas holding to 34, I'm like, that I'd consider that a win the way they played a lot this season. So, I think they gave up, close to both defenses gave up close to 500 yards. But, yeah, I thought the Tennessee got their run game going. Deshaun Bishop, I thought Joey Aguilar was pretty solid in this game as well. So, like you said, Arkansas scored a couple late to make it a little bit closer. Tennessee was up 34-17 early 4th quarter, but all in all, the turnovers were real key too in this game, and Tennessee was able to get a big win at home for them going into.
But both running back rooms got work. Both running back rooms went for 220 plus. I mean,
yeah.
Offense galore. If you like offense, go back and watch that game because that's all it was. Moving into Week 8, we got a bunch of big matchups. Obviously, we're in the heart of SEC schedule right now. I'm going to run through them right quick, just the games that we had this weekend, and we'll jump into them. So LSU's going to Vanderbilt, kicking off at 11 a.m. 11:45, Oklahoma's going to South Carolina. 2:30, Texas A&M travels to Arkansas. Ole Miss taking on Georgia at 2:30 as well. 3:15, Mississippi State's going to Gainesville to take on the Gators. At 6 o'clock, Texas is going to Kentucky. It's the 3rd Saturday in October. We all know what that means. At 6:30, Tennessee's going into Alabama to take on the Tide. And at 6:45, Missouri's coming to Auburn for their first road trip of the season. So let's get started. Week 8, LSU, Vanderbilt. We just touched on them a few minutes ago. LSU's got a really brutal schedule coming up the next few weeks. This Vanderbilt team, we talk about this is not the Vanderbilt of old. They're a fantastic football team. Only lost 1 game to Alabama where they had some turnover issues as well. That was a really good ball game. Both teams sitting at 5-1. Vanderbilt's a 2.5-point favorite here. I'm going to be honest. I like the makeup of this Vanderbilt team better than I do LSU. I think LSU's got the talent advantage. But there's something about the mentality of these Vanderbilt guys. They believe in themselves that they're the best football team in the country, and it oozes out of every one of their players. Obviously, starting with their quarterback Pavia. But this team, they are arrogant, but in the best way. I think that they obviously no team that goes in expecting to lose. I think Vanderbilt expects to dominate this game. I expect that they will. I have more faith in Vanderbilt's offense than I do LSU's offense, even after this past weekend. Nussmeier still makes some mistakes here and there. I like Vanderbilt to cover. I like Vanderbilt to obviously win outright, but I think it's not going to be close at a field goal ball game. I think Vanderbilt wins by probably a touchdown.
I think it's a good spot for Vandy, too, coming off a bye week. I mean, LSU's had to, obviously, most of their season, they've had to grind some games out. I think this is going to be a lower scoring kind of game, to be honest with you. I think, both, I won't say ball control offenses. I mean, definitely more on Vandy's side, but obviously LSU hasn't scored big in any game. Still, I think against Power 5 opponents, only 23 points is the most they've scored. And I like LSU's defense a lot, too. So I think, Vandy, we know, is kind of a ball control type of offense. So I definitely think this is going to be a lower scoring game. But I think I'm going to roll with you here. I think I like Vandy to win this game. Like I said, I like the spot for them coming off a bye, being at home. I think I heard this is the first time they've been favored against a ranked team in like 50 years or something like that. This century, something like that. I mean, it's been a long, long time since they've been favored against a ranked team. So that's really cool to see. And like I said, they're playing really good football. Kind of like I said, they had a bye, reset themselves after the loss at Alabama, and they're really competitive in that game as well. So I think I'm with you here. I think I'm gonna roll with Vandy to game say pull an upset, man. They're the favorite in this game, and I think they get it done there at home. I like the spot for them.
You said you like low scoring, so you like under 48.5 as well?
I think I would probably lean that, honestly. I don't think like I said, the way Vanderbilt wants to play.
Agreed.
And then you look, like I said, you look at the way LSU has ran their offense this year. I mean, like I said, only 23 points, the most they scored against a Power 5 team or a Power 4 team. So, I think I like probably the under here. I think, like I said, I think Vandy's going to try to, control the pace of it a little bit, and I think LSU that kind of plays in the way they've been playing as well. So.
All right, moving on. Oklahoma's going to South Carolina. Oklahoma's a 5.5 point favorite. Over under at 43.5. I'm gonna be honest. I like Oklahoma up to a touchdown in this. You're talking about Lenore Sellers running for 800 yards and scrambling. He might run for 1,500 yards this week scrambling. I still think this Oklahoma defense is one of the best defenses, if not the best in the conference and college football as a whole. I think they're going to find a way. They got 10 sacks against Auburn. They might match that this weekend against South Carolina. South Carolina's offensive line has struggled, but they're not up to par of what we expect or what I expected them to be this year. I think Oklahoma comes in there and just handles it defensively. Not really quite sure about what their offense is going to look like this week. Is John Mateer back to 100%? Didn't look like it this past weekend. Still, give me Oklahoma minus 5.5. I just don't see South Carolina being able to move the ball on this defense.
Yeah, I like Oklahoma to bounce back in this spot as well. I don't know if I'll take the under in this game, but I think it's another one that's trending towards a lower scoring game. I don't think either offense is gonna light this one up. This is a game if you're Oklahoma. If you're South Carolina, you're 3-3. You gotta have you're trying to save your season from really going down here. Oklahoma, if you want to have a chance to win the SEC college football playoff, you got to win this game because their final 5 games are absolutely brutal. One of the toughest schedules the rest of the way, and it's been backloaded for 2 years in a row now. So they absolutely got to have this game. Think it's a close game though. Like I said, I don't see either team pulling away, but I do like Oklahoma to bounce back, and I'm sure. Another week removed from the hand surgery for John Mateer, I think will be helpful as well. But they absolutely got to have this one to stay in it, and so I think you'll definitely get both teams' best effort.
All right, Texas A&M traveling to Arkansas. Texas A&M is a 7.5 point favorite. I really want to say that, man, that jumps off the page is this is such an easy pick. And that's what makes me terrified to take it. Vegas knows something I don't know. Arkansas' defense, yes, they're very good. But I think this Texas A&M defense is going to be able to stop them. Yes, I know that they gave up several points to Notre Dame. But I like this Texas A&M team, man. I think they're rolling. I think this is a quote-unquote could be a trap game. I don't think Elko lets it get to that. They had a disappointment in the started off hot last year, kind of like this year. They had some disappointment. It kind of died off. I don't expect Elko to let that happen again this year. I think they steamroll Arkansas. I'm going to stay away from it right now and see how the line moves closer to the weekend. But I do like Texas A&M to win this game outright. I think it's going to be an easy win for them. But again, Vegas knows something I don't know because I thought the Texas A&M may be favored by a little more than that.
Yeah, I would absolutely love this line to slip to 6.5. I don't think it will do that. I think it's going to stay there or probably trend in A&M's direction more. To be honest with you, I agree with you though. I think the way A&M's playing, I just like the way like I said, complimentary football on both sides. I think their offense got a chance to put up some big numbers here. This is I think a good matchup for them. I mean, Arkansas is going to get theirs too. I mean, they can create some things on you for sure, but I don't think I don't think Arkansas will quite have the success they did even last week against Tennessee, or maybe they've had in some other games. So, yeah, I would. If I got to make a pick, even at the current line, I would take A&M minus the 7.5. I think I like the matchup for them here, and I think they go on the road and take care of business. If it slips to 6.5, I'd really.
All right, so Ole Miss going to Georgia. Georgia is an 8.5-point favorite. I looked at it earlier today. It opened up, I believe, at a 7.5-point favorite. Georgia's up to an 8.5-point favorite now. Ole Miss, was able to beat them last year and didn't just beat them handily. I don't know that Ole Miss is going to win this year. I think that last week, struggling against Washington State was a definite look-ahead week. I mean, Lane Kiffin went on, I believe it was Pat McAfee's show 2 weeks ago during their bye week and said, the first few days of our bye week, we are prepping for Georgia. They're going to be ready. I think Ole Miss keeps this game extremely close. I think Vegas is crazy to think this is going to be over a touchdown victory. I like Ole Miss plus 8.5. Don't really know who I think is going to win this game, but I feel like it's going to be a close ball game. I like Ole Miss to cover 8.5.
Yeah, I like Georgia to win it, but I'm like you. I don't think it's going to be a huge margin. Really, just watching the Ole Miss defense in this game to see how they hold up against the run, against the Georgia run. I think Ole Miss will be able to get theirs against this Georgia defense. I mean, not go up and down the field or anything, but I think they can make a few things happen. I think they got some matchups in the pass game that they could potentially take some advantage of. Like you said, it was definitely a look-ahead spot. I thought they ran the ball well. I thought Ole Miss didn't stop the run as well as I thought they would a week ago. Like I said, but it was an obvious look-ahead spot for sure. But, yeah, I'm with you. I think Ole Miss keeps it within a possession, but outright I would take Georgia to win the game. It's obviously super tough to go in between the hedges, and, this Georgia team has faced some adversity so far and answered the bell pretty well. But yeah, I'll take Georgia win outright, but I think Ole Miss keep it within possession here.
All right, Mississippi State's going to Gainesville to take on Florida. Florida's an 8.5-point favorite as well. This is my lock of the week. Give me Mississippi State plus 8.5. Coming off a bye week, Florida's coming off a pretty tough game where they just got manhandled after the second quarter. Midway through the second quarter, it was all Texas A&M. Florida, I feel like, is a bit defeated. Tough game. Mississippi State's well-rested, had several weeks to prep for them. Florida may win this game. Mississippi State's going to score. They're going to keep it close. Over-under is 51.5. I like the over in this game, but my lock of the week is Mississippi State plus 8.5.
Well, I'm pulling this up because I don't want the listeners to think that I'm just agreeing with everything that you said. But I agree. I don't know if y'all can see this, but I got my slip right there. It's on the 12th. I took this Sunday night. I got Mississippi State. Got 25 on them. It was plus 10. Love it, man. So just throwing that out there, I don't want to think that, even though we do see eye to eye on a lot here, that is also my lock of the week. And I want y'all to know I took it on Sunday night as well. So that's one.
Great odds.
That's one we locked in early there, plus 10. I love that. Obviously, you said some money. My money has come down, maybe contributing a little bit to it coming at 8.5. But, no, I'm with you, man. I love it. Tough spot for Florida, man. Got a big win. Now kind of a deflating loss. What's their mindset going to be? Yeah, I mean, we know that Billy Napier keeps these guys fighting, but they're 2-4 on the year. I will throw out a prediction. I don't think this is big. I will say if Florida loses this game, he's out. They're going into a bye week. I do think if Mississippi State comes in and beats them in Gainesville, I think that'll be his last game because they'll be going into a bye week. I think it's trending that way anyway. So if they do win, I guess he could stay in a little bit longer. But I will take Mississippi State a lock plus the 10 and another lock if they win. Billy's out. That is my double lock of the week there. I think that'll be his last game. I think obviously I'm taking the plus 10, I'm taking the points. I think Mississippi State can win this thing. I really do. I mean, I think there's
Mississippi State is a plus 280 money line. Plus 280 money line for Mississippi State.
I may sprinkle a little bit on that, to be honest. I mean, I think odds are probably Florida wins because I do think Florida is the more talented team. I just don't know the mindset of them. I mean, I know they will fight, and I don't doubt that. I've seen it time and time again how he rallies those guys, but you never know. It's tough to keep rallying after deflating loss after deflating loss, and you got a big win, then another, you couldn't sustain it. So, I think Mississippi State at least keeps it close, like you said. I do think the odds are more Florida wins, but if State does win, I think this will be it for him.
I agree with you 100%. Texas going to Kentucky. Texas is a 12.5-point favorite. Over under 42.5. I'm going to be honest, I took Texas earlier today at minus 12. Kentucky is the worst team in conference. It's not like they're just losing games close. They aren't even looking competitive in a lot of these games. I think Texas goes in there and takes care of business. Give me Texas big, minus 12.5, minus 12. I'd take them up to minus 13, minus 13.5.
Yeah, I think Texas finding something like, in that OU game, I think definitely something they can sustain a little bit. Like I said, defensively, I think shouldn't have any problems against this, Kentucky offense. I think Texas definitely one of the best defenses in the country by far. I think their offense though, converted the way they did, they got the special team score, but Arch Manning taking what was there. Like I said, nothing flashy, but against an elite OU defense, thought they were able to make a few things happen. I think that's something they can definitely build upon. And I think they're going to carry that into this week as well. So I think they go up there and take care of business. I don't see much life in this Kentucky team. I think Kentucky's going to find a way to negotiate some kind of buyout. I think this is probably coming to the end of the line for Mark Stoops. I think the Florida job's coming open. Auburn job's probably coming open. So I think there's going to be some movement here in the SEC over the coming month or more. But yeah, I think Kentucky's coming to the end of the line too with Stoops. Probably I think they're going to work something out. But yeah, I like Texas in this game as well.
Sorry about that, guys. All right. Moving on. Tennessee's going to Alabama, third Saturday in October. Bama's a 7.5-point favorite. Over-under's 58.5. I'm going to be honest, I think the line's a little rich. I think if I was to take the line, I would probably take Tennessee plus 7.5. I'm not super comfortable on that, though. What I am comfortable with, though, is offense. Tennessee's got a great offense, one of the top 10 in the nation. Alabama's got a really good offense. I think that the over 58.5 is a definite gonna hit. I'm not confident enough as I am in Mississippi State to make it my lock of the week, but it's right under there. I like points to be scored in this game. Don't really know who I feel like is gonna win, but I do feel like offense is gonna show up. Over 58.5, give it to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think points are certainly going to be scored. I mean, you're looking at the number one offense in college football with Tennessee scoring just over 48 points a game. They're top 25. They're top 25 in rushing yards. They're seventh in passing yards. You look at Alabama statistically, obviously not as good. Played a tough schedule so far. Been a little more methodical. So I am curious to say, I know Tennessee can make some big plays. I'm curious to see if this is the week Alabama can get a couple explosive plays. Because, like I said, this is an offense that's been more methodical, that's, pretty high up in the country in time of possession, which they weren't a year ago. So definitely playing more complementary this year. But I am curious with the Tennessee's defense, they're 103rd in points allowed. They're 121st against the pass. I'm just curious if this is the week Alabama can create some explosive plays. Ryan Williams was banged up in the Missouri game. They only put him in a couple times as a decoy, so curious to see how much closer he'll be to 100%. So I don't want to say Alabama can for sure get some explosives in this game, but I think the opportunity should be there. I want to see if they're able to convert on that. Yeah, the line's definitely tough. I think it's probably about right. I'm not taking it at all. Like, even if it moves a little bit, I'm staying away from it because I don't. There's a little too much variance for me with these offenses. I'm just not comfortable in it. I do think overall, though, Alabama's the more balanced team, both offensively and defensively. Look at the numbers. Tennessee's got one of, if not the best offense in the country, one of the worst defenses statistically. Alabama's a lot more balanced. In just points per game perspective, Alabama's 36 in points per game, 34.8. 15th in pass. They're 101 rushing. Defensively, 22nd in points allowed, 3rd against the pass, and then 93rd against the run. So I just think Alabama's a little bit more balanced, so I'm going to pick Alabama to win the game, staying away from the line. But to me, one of the big keys is Tennessee's defense. Can they stay disciplined? You know what I mean? Can they force Alabama to take field goals or stall out in the red zone, which has been a theme the last couple of weeks? If they can stay disciplined, hold firm in the red zone, force Alabama to some field goals or maybe a turnover or two, I think they'll definitely have a chance to win this game. I think that's going to be key. Just stalling Alabama in the red zone and staying disciplined on the defensive side of the ball.
Absolutely. In the final game of the weekend, Missouri's going to Auburn. Auburn opened up as a 2.5-point favorite, but today, as the day has gone on, Missouri is now a 1.5 favorite. Over-under's 43.5. I'm going to be honest, I'm staying away from this game completely. If I had to pick, I would pick Auburn to win outright for these reasons. It's at Jordan-Hare, at night. This is Missouri's first time to travel all year, and Auburn is in absolute desperation mode. I think that it's a lot. This game means more to Auburn than it does Missouri. This game could give Auburn life. If Missouri drops this game, it's not the end of the road for them. Obviously, it makes things a lot more difficult, but I think Auburn needs this game more. I think they're going to be in more desperation mode, and obviously being at home in Missouri, never traveling, definitely helps. Coming off a tough, really brutal game, a lot of tough hits. Some Alabama players carted off the field. I mean, it was they weren't just tippy-toeing around out there. It was a slugger knocker fest, or whatever you want to call it, juggernaut of a football game. So I think they're going to be banged and bruised up. I like Auburn's chances here. I think Auburn wins outright, but it wouldn't shock me whichever way this goes. If Auburn comes out and can move the ball on offense, I like their chances. I think the defense has been keeping Auburn in every single game. I think they're going to continue to do that this weekend. If I had to bet, I'd probably take the under 43.5 just because Auburn hasn't scored a whole lot of points in the Hugh Freeze era, and I don't think the defense is just going to be giving up a whole lot of points. But I could see this game going a lot of different ways, and for that reason, I'm staying off of it. But for the reasons that I said just previously, I think Auburn could win.
Yeah, to me, this is the two nightcaps are the two most intriguing, just about the way they could go. I mean, we got interesting games all day, but those two nightcaps are going to be really, really entertaining. Like you said, I'm curious to see can Auburn kind of shut down that Missouri run game, kind of like Alabama. Ahmad Hardy only had about 53 yards rushing. I mean, this was the nation's leading rusher coming in. If Auburn can do something similar to that, I think that bodes very, very well for them. Put this game in Bo Perbula's to make throws down the field. We saw him make a couple critical mistakes last week. Alabama was able to force a couple turnovers. I think that'll be critical for Auburn, being able to do the same thing, limit him, force it into Perbula's hands, and kind of force him to maybe, make a bad mistake or two. I want to see too if Auburn can. I wouldn't be shocked, like I said, if they come out with a really good script again, have success early. Can they fix the second half woes? Like that is the biggest thing because this Missouri front can really, create some problems for you. I mean, I mean, I think it'll be the same for Auburn too. Like Missouri's front caused more issues than Georgia's front did when Alabama played them. I think the same thing can be said for in this game for Auburn as well. So can they fix the second half woes? Because I will say I don't think Auburn wins this game if they have a similar second half to how they've had the last 3 weeks.
I agree.
I think it's gonna have to be better than that. But I think I'm with you though. With it being in Jordan Hare, I would lean Auburn to win the game, but I'm not going to pick it though because, like I said, just too many variables for me. But like I said, I definitely Auburn's going to need to have a better second half. Can they force the game into Perbua's hands and force the game on his shoulders? If they can do that, I think that puts them in a much better position. And Auburn's got a couple winnable games after that too, so you could see them getting a little momentum going if that's the case. They got Arkansas, which is not going to be a tough game on the road though with that offense. They got Kentucky there, so a chance to maybe right the ship a little bit. So this is going to be a very, very interesting one in Jordan Hare.
Yeah, like you were talking about with Florida. I think if I think if Hugh Freeze loses this game against Missouri, he's probably out. Going into the season, I predicted 8-4. A lot of people were predicting 8-4. 8-4 is sitting on the table right now for Auburn. If Auburn can win this game, they can get the ship right. At 8-4 is 100% sitting on the table. If they lose this game, it's going to be really hard to get to 8-4. Probably looking more like a 6-6, 7-5 ball team. Because if you're losing to Missouri, depending on how it looks, you're probably not going to beat Vanderbilt. So this is a big game for the rest of the year. If he can win this game, get them back on track, they're probably going to finish where a lot of people expected them to at 8-4. But they lose this game, probably losing the locker room, morale's going down, and Hugh Freeze is probably done. So this is a big game for Auburn this weekend, and definitely a big game for Hugh Freeze. You kind of got to feel bad for them though, because they very well could be sitting here at 4-2 or 5-1 for sure. Some calls are going a different way. We're not having these types of conversations right here. However, they didn't go that way. They were not able to find a way to overcome it, so we are having these conversations. You kind of got to feel bad for them at the same time. It's a lot of things that are recurring, a lot of bad things that are recurring, consistently finding ways to lose ball games. So, you can see it from both ends, but I think that this game is going to define Hugh Freeze's career at Auburn and going to define if the Hugh Freeze era lasts or doesn't.
Yeah, I did, kind of before we wrap up, I did want to get your thoughts, obviously, on the big news of Sunday of James Franklin getting fired from Penn State, them losing their third consecutive game. I mean, I know his record against AP ranked teams, AP top 10 teams especially, is not good, but I mean, what a fall from grace. A guy that won 2 playoff games a year ago was very, very close to getting to the national championship game. And let's not forget, just a couple weeks ago, was up on Oregon as the number 2 or 3 team in the country.
2 overtimes, yeah.
Yeah, if he wins that game, he may have vaulted to number 1, to be honest with you. And then here, you go on to lose that game. You lose in a shocker to UCLA. Then obviously you lose to Northwestern, and boom, you're out. I mean, it just goes to show you how quick things can change, for good or bad, in college football. I wanted to get your thoughts on that, and just not a ton of hot seat talk yet, but I did want to get your thoughts on some maybe surprise jobs that come open. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting coaching carousel because we're going to have several jobs in the SEC more than likely. So give me your thoughts on Franklin and then just kind of the coaching carousel as a whole before we wrap up.
I mean, you laid it out perfectly. How the times change. Like you said, a few plays away from a national championship berth last year, and then the fall from grace after you lose to UCLA, and then again this past weekend to Northwestern. I mean, just like you said, it can change so quickly. I thought it was a little quick pull the trigger, but I can also understand it. Versus top 10 ranked Big Ten opponents, he is 1-18. And that's just in Big Ten opponents that are ranked in the top 10. In his 12 years there, he's 1-18. I can see it. I can see how fans get disgruntled with it. He's going to win you 10 games every single year. You're going to go to a bowl game. You're going to be a very good football team. But they want to get over the hump. I get it. He inherited a disaster of what came from the Paterno situation, and he built it back up to what Penn State football is expected to be, competing for championships. He just couldn't ever get over the hump. But not many coaches do get over the hump. So I hope for Penn State that they get it right and they knock the next hire out of the park. But the grass is not always greener. We've seen that at several occasions. But I was stunned, but also I could see it from both sides for sure. What didn't shock me by any means, but I mean it was a little. I was like, wow. I mean, especially this early in the season. But I get it. I understand it.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I mean, I wasn't shocked because just the way the last couple of weeks had happened, but at the same time, I was kind of like you. I was like, man, that was quick. And to be honest, I mean, like you said, I know he hasn't necessarily got over that hump. Very few are able to do that. I'm just like, I think they're going to have a pretty hard time finding somebody that for sure is going to be better. You look at the last 3 or 4 years, there's only 3 or 4 coaches that have more wins than James Franklin does. Like I think they're going to have a tough time getting an upgrade. To be honest with you, I mean he's a very solid coach. Like I said, I get the record against AP ranked teams. Like I know he wasn't able to beat the Michigans and the Ohio States and now the Oregons, and like I said, I get all that, but it's like at the same time, this was the guy that was perennially winning you 9, 10 games, got you to the college football playoff last year. Like you can trust me, the floor is can be a lot lower than this. And will be if you don't get the right hire. So I think they're going to have a tough time. Like I said, I get it from both sides, but at the same time, man, they're going to have to nail this because it's going to be tough to do better than he's done. If you because obviously you're not getting the Kirby's, the Lannings, all those guys aren't moving. So it's like who do you get that can for sure beat what he's done? I think it'll be a tough tough time finding that. Honestly, I think they can, but it'll be tough.
They better hit it on this hire because if they don't, they're going to be in a few years of darkness. Just ask the Auburn faithful. However, going on to the second part of your question, the coaching carousel is about to be insane. I mean, we've already got 3 or 4 jobs open now, and then you got guys that are going to replace those jobs, and then their jobs become vacancies. So I think there's going to be a lot of moving around. I've heard, Rhett Lashley around some jobs, the Arkansas job, the Auburn job potentially. I've heard Eli Drinkwitz around some jobs, Auburn job. He's an Arkansas guy. Help me out. Nebraska's coach, Matt Rule. I've heard his name spark up around Penn State, played there. He's friends with the AD. If that happens, then the Nebraska job's open. So, I mean, there could be a bunch of moving around. I think that Florida is probably going to go after Lane. I think that if Auburn does decide to move on from Hugh Freeze, I know it didn't work last time, but you at least got to kick the tires again and try. I think Auburn, if they get rid of Hugh, is probably going to call Lane again just to see. I think there's going to be a lot of coaches moving around, some out of conference, some within conference, and there's just going to be a lot of vacancies open up. But then you got to ask the question of, well, what's the word I'm looking for? Not work-life balance, but the value of life. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. For the coach, what's their life like? Are they coaching at a place like Auburn or Alabama or Ohio State, where if you don't win a national championship or you don't win a conference championship, you're hearing chatter from everybody on the street, every radio station. People are mean to your kids. People are mean to your wife. They're trying to run you out of town. Or you at a place like Signetti, or you at a place like Indiana, where they have never been good at football until Signetti got there. So he can stay there for the rest of his career, and he can win 8 or 9 ball games a year, and he's going to be king of campus.
Exactly.
So, like, what's your value of life like? You got to ask those questions. Is it a lateral move, or are you moving up the ladder? Like there's some jobs. It's like where SMU to Arkansas, Rhett Lashley being rooming around Arkansas. Is SMU to Arkansas a lateral move? Yes, it's in the SEC, but where that program is now, the resources that they have in Texas versus Arkansas, is that a lateral move or is that moving up? There's a lot of questions to be asked, and does that coach want to leave? Or does he like where he's at now? Does he think his team next year's got a chance to win something? Like, there's a lot of questions going around, but it's crazier this year because I feel like this is the biggest coaching carousel, especially with top-name programs and coaches that we've had in quite some time.
Yeah, for sure. I did want to ask you too. Are there any maybe there's been rumors of some surprises coming open. Are there any that stick out to you that you could maybe people aren't thinking about? We got, like you said, the Floridas, Arkansas's already open. Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if Kentucky came open. Penn State's open now. I think I already said Florida, Auburn. There's going to be movement with those. Are there any that you think might be kind of a surprise that maybe people aren't expecting?
I think the biggest surprise, I think it's kind of expected in some fan bases, but not others. I think the biggest ripple effect that would happen or can happen is Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss. If he leaves Ole Miss, it's probably Florida. But I feel like if Lane Kiffin leaves Ole Miss, that'll be the biggest ripple effect in college football from just what they've done since he's been there, what he's built them to go to a different program, a program that's notoriously more of a championship contender than Ole Miss is in a program like Florida. So I think that would be the most shocking in just the sense of the sports world, and people are going to talk about it. It's going to catch headlines, would be Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss, wherever he would end up.
I think one that if their season slides down, goes off hill, I think, we were on the stream with Alexander on Saturday morning previewing this weekend. He talked about if Texas lost this game against Oklahoma, that Steve Sarkisian, he felt like might have some hot seat talk. I think he just had the wrong coach. I think if Oklahoma's season goes down the stretch, I would not be shocked if that doesn't come back up again or if they made a change. I know it sounds bold right now. They're 5-1, like everything. But you look at their schedule down the stretch, it's not inconceivable. And I like their team a lot, but I'm just saying if they lose 3 of their final 5 games or 4 of their final 5 games, which isn't inconceivable, I could see that move being made. I mean, he was on hot seat a little bit last year, going 6-6. I'm just saying, people throwing out, hey, there could be some surprises. I think that's one that I could see happen because, like I said, you look at his records, not great overall there. Like I said, we'll see. Not saying for sure it's going to happen, but that's the first one that popped in my mind. Like, a surprise with, I don't know, something to keep an eye on if they start to go down the tracks a little bit.
Okay, let's go a little more if. If Venables is fired, do they go after Heupel? Or do they go after Lebby? Or do they go after somebody completely different? Josh Heupel's a king there, one runner-up in Heisman, I believe won a national championship there as a quarterback. Jeff Lebby recently coached there, was offensive coordinator there with was it under Lincoln or was it under Venables that he was offensive coordinator, Jeff Lebby?
I think it was Venables, I believe.
I believe you're right. He left there to go to Mississippi State, I believe. So, it's recently been there. Do you think he goes after either one of those? And if he does go, if Venables is out, they go after Lebby or Heupel, then those jobs come open. I mean, it could be crazy in the next few months.
And I'm not necessarily predicting that. I'm just like, hey,
hypothetical.
Yeah, if that's one to watch out, in my opinion, that might catch people by surprise. I've heard the rumors, you've heard it in the college football media. Number one, this is going to be a crazy cycle. Number two, there's going to be some surprises, or maybe that's not on people's radars right now. That to one is going to be that I'm watching to see how they finish the season. Not necessarily predicting it by any means, because like I said, I like their team, but they have a really tough schedule to end the way, so keep an eye on Oklahoma. And I think that's one as well. You talk about Lane leaving Ole Miss. If that Oklahoma job comes open, that's another one I think that could really throw a wrench in some things. So I'm like you, though. It's going to be a crazy cycle for sure, especially in the SEC because there's going to be multiple jobs, probably going to be multiple jobs open by the time it's all said and done. And like I said, if Rule goes to Penn State, or there's a report today that Penn State may take a big swing at like a Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. On3 was reporting that. Penn State's probably going to take a couple big swings. So, stay tuned, man. It's going to be a wild, not only on the field, but off the field with the coaching carousel. So stay tuned over these next several months. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Appreciate it, y'all.